Okay, people, so we have got for you a working man. Yeah, I wasn't sure I was gonna get another one in, but yeah, I figured why not? This is the new film from David Ayer, who co-wrote it with Sylvester Stallone. Yes, people, that is right. Sylvester Stallone. Ah, man, yeah. The film is produced by Bill Block, John Friedberg, Chris Long. Who else do we have? Kevin King Templeton. Who else do we have? Jason Statham and David Ayer. It is executive produced by Vladimir Artemenko, Rachel Cole, Alexis Garcia, Michael Himmler, Teddy Schwartzman, Mike Shanks, Jill Siphon, Yevgen Stupka, and Thomas Zadra. It's associate produced by Tom White. Bo Harrington, with co-production from Anthony M. Scott. Okay, so Jared Michael Fry took care of the music. Shaun White is down with the cinematography. Fred Raskin edits it all. Right, casting is Finian Tweed. Nigel Evans is production design. Art direction, Todd Ellis, James Lewis, Renate Nicolaison, and Gareth Spree. Rebecca Alleyway is set decoration. Costume design is Tiziana Corvizeri. Hair and makeup, prosthetics, Milani Young, Sam Shook, Stuart Richards, Chloe Redon, Waldo Mason, Nadine Mann, Rosianna Lana, Joe Hopker, Catherine Hees, Stacey Herbert, Rob Craffer, Claire Cameron. All right, so our cast. Jason Statham is Levon Cade. And he works for the Garcias, right? Joe Garcia is played by Michael Peña. His wife, Carla, is played by Naomi Gonzalez. Their daughter, Jenny, is played by Arianna Rivas. Actually, let me... Then we have... let's got Viper, played by Emmett J. Scanlon. Artemis, played by Eve Muro. There's Wallo Kolinsk, played by Jason Fleming. We have got Dimi Kolinsk, played by Maximilian Ozeniski. There's Selana Kolinsk, played by Christina Polly. She's married to Waldo. Oh, Cade's got a daughter, Mary, played by Isla G. Nina, played by Alana Bowden. Simon Karanko, played by Andrei Kaminsky. Carp, played by Max Cross. There's Gunny Lefferty, played by David Harbour. Now, do they list his wife? Yes. Joyce Lefferty is played by Joanna Delane. Sergeant Von Trask, played by Mookie Zubis. We have Nesta, played by Ricky Camp. Dutch, played by Chidi Jufo. Who else do we have? Johnny, the bartender, played by David Witts. Yes, Tobias Garrett, played by Wayne Gordon. Noel, played by Daniel Lumpf. Listo, played by Joe Congio Martin. Jose Congio Martin. Chantel, played by Jade Cotsworth. I think that is basically our main players. You know what I mean? I think that's what that is. Yeah. The gist of the story is Levon Cade has left his profession behind him to go straight and work in construction. I mean, that makes it sound like he was a criminal, which is kind of weird because he was in the army. You know what I mean? He wants to live a simple life and be a good father to his daughter. But when his boss's teenage daughter Jenny vanishes, he's called upon to re-employ the skills that made him a legendary figure in the shadowy world of Black Ops. His hunt for the missing college student takes him deep into the heart of a sinister criminal conspiracy, creating a chain reaction that will threaten his new way of life. So yes, that's the gist. Now, this is all based on a book, right? Book Levon's Way. Yeah, I believe that's what the book is called, Levon's Way, right? And Levon's Trade, duh. And that was written by Chuck Dixon. Now, if you read comic books, you might recognize that name. He's written for Marvel, DC, Cross-Gen, Dynamite Brothers, Devil's Due. He's written a lot. And he kind of I feel he left comics to write books, and this was one of them. Right? It came out in 2014, but I think supposedly Sylvester Stallone really liked the book and optioned the rights. There was talk that it was meant to be a TV series, but then that didn't happen, and they decided to condense everything and turn it into a film. Yeah. So that's the real jazz. I got in slightly, not late, right? It was just It just literally started as I got into the cinema. And I think I've read somewhere that a load of information comes on screen to kind of just basically lay out where it is. Now, I caught it as he's in his car cleaning his teeth, right? So I was just like, yo, what? Huh? And there's also the one like, where the fuck is he showering? right? Because he goes to work and yeah, it's all weird. It's always weird. Um, so I'm assuming it was text, right? Because I didn't hear, there was no talking as I came into the screen or anything like that. So I'm assuming they showed a load of images and text and whatnot. But this is basically, if you like a Jason Statham film, right? You know, the typical action films, Beekeeper, you know the ones, people. Come on now, right? If that is your thing, then you're probably going to enjoy this, right? There's no thinking needed, right? Like the plot is pretty thin on the ground, right? So you've got the Garcia, as I said, the Garcias, they do construction. And yeah, Jenny, she's going to uni, but she helps out at the family's construction company, doing the accounts and all of that kind of thing. And, you know, there's just a lot in the film that you kind of feel doesn't do anything, doesn't go anywhere. Like, for whatever reason, everyone on the construction site gives Levon food. Now, I will say at the start, I thought his name was 11, right? Or he was, you know, worker number 11. Because that's what it sounded like. Everyone was calling him 11. Like, but no, it's Levon. And I only got that from looking at IMDb because, yeah, it's not clear in the film, right? But, yeah, everyone's giving him food. I don't even know, right? Because it's kind of like, surely, you know, there must be other people in bad situations. No one else seems to be getting shit. Just Levon. So we have this. There's a bit when he and this is literally at the very start, and he beats up people who have come to pick on a worker. No word on why that happens, right? That scene is just kind of there to show, yeah, Levon's a badass, you know. And then you've got Jenny, and I believe this was in the trailer, right? Jenny being like, hey, I won't say anything. Snitches get stitches. Just like, ugh. And then it's just like, you've got my back if I need it, right? He's like, yeah, I got your back. So you're just like, okay. Okay. Right? Like, in an action film, those kind of things are never throwaway. Right? Where, you know, you might see something and you say something to a buddy, right? You'd be like, blah, blah, blah. But nothing ever comes of it. But in an action film, that's always a setup, right? It's a tag for something happening later in the film, you know? So we have all of this. Now, it's weird because Jenny knows her family aren't, you know, they work in construction, but they're not filthy rich or anything like that. But she's just like, oh, I need a load of money to go out because we're celebrating the first semester of uni. Completing the first, like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know what I mean? And I'm imagining she gets money for the work she's doing. Use your own fucking money. Like, it's just a weird thing. Just like, what? We can just have a go out. Do we need this? You know what I mean? Weird setups and all of that kind of jazz. They go to a club. And again, there are several club scenes in this. None of the clubs are busy. None clubs are busy. Right? You've got people, the amount of space they've got on the dance floor. Yeah, that's always a shit club, man. Like, if there's that much space, that club is not popping off. You feel me? But yeah, shit goes down, Jenny goes missing. And you know, like in an action film, there's literally always a scene of, can you help me? Be like, that's not what I do anymore. I promised myself I'd never go back. Right? And then 5 minutes later, they're like, right, I'm going to help you. And this is, what is the point of those scenes? Right? What is the point? Because no one ever sticks to it. And in this film, there's not even anything that happens that kind of changes your mind or anything like that. It's literally, he goes somewhere, has a talk. In the midst of that talk, they're just like, why? You know you're doing a thing. He's just like, yeah. And it's just like, so what has been the point of the last 5 minutes? You could have just cut all of this shit out. Right? But we have him on the, you know, chasing down leads and all of this palaver. But I mean, because you can compare this to, I guess, the Taken films, obviously, and the last nonsense Rambo. I mean, really, yeah. There's obviously Sylvester Stallone's Rambo, and this is kind of, I think, was it John Rambo, the last one? I think where he's on the, you know, the farm, the ranch, right? And he goes and saves the girl, blah, 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 blah. Or was the girl dead? I forget. Anyway, yeah, it's very similar. Very similar. Right? But in Taken, Liam Neeson, there are clues. In this, you're like, okay, how does he get the clue to do what he starts off doing? Right? Because it's not a case of, right, I'm going to go here because there might be, it's just literally, you know, casing people. And you're like, how would he know that person is involved, or that person, or that person? Like, how? Right? So we have a lot of this going down. There's just so much stuff in here that you're like, wait a minute. How would anyone know this? Right? Again, he's meant to be broke, but he's got all this high level tech. Right? And that's even before something else goes down. Right? There's a subplot with his daughter, which does not need to be here. Right? Does not need to be in this film at all. Even his friend, right? The David Harbour character and his wife, they do not need to be in this film. Right? There's just so much stuff. There's this whole police corruption thread, which leads nowhere. Right? And then the conclusion is mad unsatisfying. Right? It's just like, huh? We've got this biker gang that seem to love Game of Thrones, which again, right? So the way that all gets concluded is just like, wait, what the fuck is happening? There is so much going on. It feels so convoluted. So convoluted, but with little to no story. Right? Little to no, because they're just throwing all of this stuff out there, and you're just like, has no relevance, has no relevance, has no relevance. What's the point? What are we doing? Right? There's just so much of that. And there's no real payoffs. Right? Because certain people, the way they meet their end is just like, wait, that's it? What? It's just yes, it's an odd one. Right, there's some terrible, like for me, there's some terrible Jason Statham films, right? I mean, there's terrible action films just in general. Like Novocaine, right? There's just so much of that made no sense because motherfucker would have bled out, 10 minutes in. Right? You might not feel pain, but you still bleed, right? So there's a load of these films that make no sense. But something like The Beekeeper, it's still, for the little story that was there, it's still a better story than this. You know what I mean? Yeah, like Crank, and there's all of these ones. The story is still more present. It's still more present than A Working Man. Hey, and yeah, it's just the way it ends is kind of like, what? Yeah, I don't know. But as I said on Jump, if you are a Jason Statham fan, if you enjoyed Novocaine, right? If you enjoyed things like The Wrath of Man and Operation Fortune and just so many of these. I mean, Crank 2. If you like the mess of Crank 2, you will enjoy A Working Man, right? That's what I think. It's not for me, but if you like any of those things, I think it could be for you. It's typical Jason Statham acting wise. David Harbour, Joyce, who played Joyce again? It was Joanna Delane. Right, they really have nothing. There's no depth to their characters, so there's nothing for them to do. There's so many of the people in the film. Their character is so thin, right? It's just like, well, yeah. What are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? So, it's kind of pointless. It's kind of pointless for these people. Yeah, it's in the cinema. It's in the cinema, people. So if you want it, right, if you're down or with this, then yeah, you might want to go check out A Working Man. But be warned, right? Be warned.